always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Kicking off another brand new day here on Real America's Voice at MTN. Glad to have you on board the Truth Train as we roll out of the foxhole of freedom, making America first every single day. We've got a lot of work to do again today. Let's get to it. Here are the three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, it seems that President Trump has not forgotten about his desire to control Greenland and expand the American military presence on the North Atlantic island, saying it is the last line of defense. We'll get a lot of details on that today. Number two, also yesterday, the president said if Democrats take back the House in the midterms, they'll waste 2 years running through impeachment efforts against him. It is sad, but it's true. And number three, today I begin with a stern warning to anyone who doubts the word or resolve of President Donald J. Trump. You do so at your own peril. Here in the United States, we've seen him make good on promise after promise during his first year back in office. Promises made and promises kept. Just yesterday, Trump delivered on a promise to make America healthy again with the help of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The CDC has pared down the childhood vaccine schedule to cover just 11 dangerous diseases, removing the requirements for a handful of diseases that really should be for high-risk individuals only, or maybe none at all. Before yesterday, newborn babies were expected to receive a shot protecting them from hepatitis B. It was almost mandatory, a sexually transmitted infection, before they left the hospital, whether the mom had the infection or not. And if you didn't want your 2-day-old baby to be jabbed, you were shamed into oblivion. No more. Here's more from Health and Human Services Deputy Secretary and Acting Director of the CDC, Jim O'Neill.
You know, many people have noticed that the United States has recommended more and more vaccines for children every year. They've gone from 23 doses for 7 diseases in 1980 to more than 80 doses for 18 diseases now. That's a huge number of vaccines. Many parents are concerned that they're injecting their young, innocent children with a lot of medicines. They're not sure about the risks and benefits of all these. And many people have been asking questions. We've been looking at this all year. We've had the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices do deep considerations of the safety record for certain vaccines. And the president last month asked me to consider what other countries are doing. A lot of our scientists wrote a long formal assessment recommending that we converge United States recommendations on the consensus recommendation vaccines of other countries. And I just signed a decision memo today doing that.
Now, in a True Social post announcing these schedule reforms, Trump wrote, quote, "We are moving to a far more reasonable schedule," adding that, quote, "Many Americans, especially the Maha moms, have been praying for these common sense reforms for many years. Promises made and promises kept." Of course, that's just the latest in a long list of delivering on his campaign promises over the last year. President Trump promised to put Americans first, and thanks to his actions in securing our border, he's currently the only president since 1994 to ensure that almost all net job gains have gone to American-born workers, to people you know. President Trump has closed the border, cut taxes, curbed Biden's inflation crisis, blown drug trafficking boats out of the water, and most recently removed the narco dictator Nicolas Maduro from his reign of terror in Venezuela. It's exactly what he promised. Here he is 2 years ago, laying out his exact intentions. Listen.
When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS Caliphate, and just as, unlike the situation we're in today, we had a very, very strong border, the strongest border, in fact, in the history of our country. And drugs were at a low of 45 years. There's been nothing like what we did just 2 years ago. We will show no mercy on the cartels. Every day, drug traffickers are using the waters of our region to ship their lethal poisons to America, killing so many of our people and ruining families. In addition to restoring strong border security, I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before, and it worked. What we did was incredible. We will guarantee that the waters of the Western Hemisphere are not used to traffic illicit drugs to our country. Furthermore, I will order the Department of Defense to make appropriate use of special forces, cyber warfare, and other overt and covert actions to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations.
Boy, did he ever. Now, it's a rare thing these days to have a politician, any politician, who does exactly what they say they're going to do. It's remarkable, and apparently quite uncomfortable for his political opponents. It's true. Just last month, the White House released its national security strategy, promising to reassert and reinforce the Monroe Doctrine, which is simply acting on the belief that if we don't control our hemisphere, other world powers will. The kind of world powers that are hell-bent on the destruction of personal freedom and, frankly, Western civilization. And the White House made good on that promise pretty fast with the removal of Maduro. Trump was calling it the Monroe Doctrine because no one gets it done like the Don. Here he is talking about his commitment to it while aboard Air Force One.
It's about peace on Earth.
How is it peace on Earth?
Peace on Earth.
By-
We got to have peace. It's our hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine was very important when it was done, and other presidents, a lot of them, they lost sight of it. I didn't. I didn't lose sight. But it really is, it's peace on Earth. Thank you very much.
And this administration has been enforcing that doctrine across the board and around the world, as he mentioned. We've secured cooperation with Mexico on issues of migration and crackdowns on the cartels through tariffs. We've partnered with El Salvador in locking up the worst of the worst. We've placed new sanctions and tariffs on Nicaragua, hampered China's influence in the Panama Canal, sanctioned Colombia, boosted freedom fighter Javier Milei in Argentina, secured Brazil's cooperation on the mining of critical minerals, designated Cuba as a state sponsor of terror, and supported the opposition candidate in Honduras' presidential race. That candidate, by the way, Nasri Asfira, won an impressive upset victory there just a few days ago, kicking out the leftists again along the way. And if you still doubt the benefits of arresting Maduro, I'll let our Vice President J.D. Vance lay it out for you. Here he is.
Ultimately, we want what's best for the Venezuelan people, but more importantly than that, by a factor of 100, we want what's best for the American people. And whoever the leader of that country is going to have to play ball with the United States. That is the whole problem that we've had in that region of the world. People don't realize that they've invited a whole host of American competitors into Venezuela. They've given them access to cheap energy resources, and they've used their own energy money to fund this terrible narco-terrorism against the United States of America. What the president did, and really the entire team made possible, is to cut off that flow of energy money to narco-terrorists, to then, of course, cut off the amount of narco-terrorism that's being imported into the United States of America. I think it's going to save lives. It's going to mean cheaper gas and energy prices for Americans. And maybe most importantly, it's going to mean that we have more control over the energy resources that exist in the world, which makes it possible for us, of course, to achieve better economic results for our people and to use those energy resources as leverage to achieve greater peace and prosperity.
Pretty well explained. Pretty well explained. These are our neighbors. They're not going to saddle up with our enemies. More coming up because we're just getting started on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, remember, these are our neighbors. Venezuela's our neighbor. We're not going to let those countries saddle up with our enemies. And after last weekend, the rest of the Western Hemisphere knows if they don't play along, the next sound they hear won't be a warning over the television. It could be the sound of helicopters coming in hot. Compare Trump's actions with Joe Biden's words, which were weak, indirect, and most importantly, completely ineffective. Here's a reminder.
I wonder, what is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't come.
That's not leadership. That's pathetic. Remember what happened after that? Hezbollah attacked repeatedly anyway. Why? Because leadership isn't about style points or mean tweets or who sounds nicer at the podium. Leadership deals with how the world actually works. When leaders issue warnings that don't come with consequences, nobody takes them seriously. Nobody. Not our enemies, not bad actors, not terrorist groups. They don't back off. They lean in. They test the resolve and the limits. They see how far they can go before someone finally does something. And every time that happens, the situation gets more dangerous and more expensive. Strength doesn't create chaos. Confusion does. Mixed signals do. Saying one thing and doing another does. And for years, the world watched American leaders talk tough, draw red lines, and then erase them the moment things got uncomfortable. That's not restraint. That's an open invitation. What's different now is simple. When Trump draws a line, it's real. Very real. When he issues a warning, it's not for show, it's a heads up. And because everyone knows he'll actually act, a lot of conflicts never make it past that stage. That's how deterrence is supposed to work. It's not about starting wars, it's about stopping them before they ever start. There's nothing subtle or indirect about Trump's warnings. He's crystal clear and pretty damn direct. He warns, sure, but then what makes him different is he actually acts with bold confidence. When Iran continued building its nuclear arsenal, what did we do? Carry out some of the most successful precision strikes I've ever seen without the loss of a single American or kicking off an endless war, as Democrats warned. Now there's news that Iran is considering building its weapons stockpile back up, and Trump is delivering another warning. This was right before the new year. Listen.
Intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah. And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
Yeah, and this week, Trump issued another warning to Iran that the United States military is locked, loaded, and ready to go. If Iran continues its attacks against peaceful protesters, there's going to be hell to pay. And if Iran doubts his resolve, they should just ask Maduro about his experience recently. The same goes for every other country who's betting against us over the next 3 years. Here domestically, we've seen promises made and promises kept too, and it's done a lot of good. But for those abroad, if you force Trump to make good on his warnings, it won't work out so well for you. Democrats can whine, and they do. And they can complain about what Trump does in office. But at the end of the day, Trump is completely reshaping foreign policy, demanding peace through strength once again. And I'm hoping that J.D. Vance is right when he makes this prediction. Listen.
Left office, I've never seen a president who's accomplished so much, who's achieved so much peace, who's been able to advance America's economic interests through his foreign policy. People talk about foreign policy, and of course, foreign means not in the United States. But how do you think that we're able to get these trade deals? How do you think that we're able to bring in hundreds of billions of dollars through tariffs? How do you think we're able to bring in $18 trillion in new investments? There's a foreign policy element to that. And I really think it's a very unique perspective. But I actually think, even though the Democrats won't ever admit it, that administrations for the next 40 or 50 years are going to be guided by the Trump doctrine in the same way people were guided by the Monroe Doctrine 200 years ago.
Now, President Trump doesn't hide behind press releases or empty rhetoric. He draws lines. He enforces them. Allies understand it, enemies fear it, and Americans benefit from it. From restoring common sense at home to reasserting American strength abroad, this administration is proving again that peace only comes when strength is unquestioned. You don't have to like Donald Trump. You don't. But ignoring his words or doubting his resolve has consequences. History is learning that lesson fast. So who's next? That's the last outstanding question. Well, who's been warned? Colombia? Nicaragua? Iran? China? Russia? Or, here's where my money is it Greenland? Is it Greenland? I believe that we're going to control Greenland. Let me make this prediction. The United States will control Greenland long before Donald Trump leaves office. Copenhagen and the Danes are failing Greenland, and it is critical to our national security. It's creeping back into the headlines as it should. The Chinese and the Russians want to control the Arctic and so much more. Donald Trump says absolutely not. This is the Western Hemisphere. And we're the big dog on the block, and we're going to act that way. Mark my words. This segment is proudly sponsored by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet. It's where veterans find purpose in property restoration and owning their own business, entrepreneurship. We salute those who have served. And if you are a veteran or know somebody who is, this is your chance to find out more. Call 855-PuroVet or go to purovet.com. As a veteran, you're going to be at the front of the line. All right, still to come today. Kelly Loeffler's going to be here, the former senator from Georgia, the administrator for the Small Business Administration, joining me in just a few minutes here. You're going to want to hear this interview. Also, I encourage you to follow us on YouTube. I'm told it's the best stream to find out there. Nothing against my friends at Getter, but the YouTube stream, really well done. And the chat, it's growing. Same on Getter. I go to both places every day and talk to the good folks. Already did it on Getter today. Make sure you join me for the conversation. We'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, big hearing coming up on Capitol Hill today. Look, I just saw a report out of CARE TV, Minneapolis, K-A-R-E, Channel 11, Minneapolis. They just had people testify yesterday that not only was there fraud, but listen to this. One of the fraudsters got over $567,000 for 1 day of work. That person resigned within a couple of days and went to work for the company he got the $567,000 for. Now, that sounds criminal to me. I'm no expert, but you get paid $567,000 for a single day of work without description, by the way. No explanation of what that work, quote unquote, was. Oh, there's going to be hell to pay. So, James Comer, we're sitting at the head of the table for the House Oversight Committee on Capitol Hill today. And he's got a scathing opening statement, as you can imagine. We'll have full coverage coming out on America's Voice Live. 3 o'clock today. Remember, you can catch me every day right here on Real America's Voice, 3 o'clock Eastern Time for America's Voice Live. Now, what would your life look like if you finally felt confident in your body again, with the energy to enjoy it? My Pure Health uses breakthrough science and technology to uncover why your metabolism turned off and then fixes it naturally. No shots, none of that stuff. No exercise even, just real food and a customized protocol designed for you. Men lose up to 50 pounds in 40 days. I know because I did it. Women up to 32 pounds. More importantly, My Pure Health shows you how to keep it off for good so you can stop dieting and start living. Book your free consultation today. Go to gruberhealth.com. gruberhealth.com. Take the first step toward a healthier, slimmer you in 2026. You can do this. I did it. Come on now. Get on the bandwagon. You'll feel good about it. gruberhealth.com. Real results, real food, real simple. All right, coming up next, Kelly Loeffler will be here. She took time to spend a lot of time talking about Venezuela, Minnesota, small business in America, and 2026 as she looks out across the country as far as the economy goes. It's a great conversation. It's next on The Steve Gruber Show. Well, 2026 off to a quiet start in the news cycle. Not much to talk about, right? Wow, what a year already. Major stories breaking all over, big stories. And I'm fortunate enough now to have the administrator, Kelly Loeffler of the U.S. Small Business Administration with me here today. Kelly, thank you for joining me.
Great to be with y'all, Steve.
You've been in politics for a number of years. You were a senator for the state of Georgia. You're now the administrator for the Small Business Administration. Obviously, Remarkable news cycle. What the United States did in extracting Maduro, I think, is nothing short of amazing. And yet some of the Democrats want to take shots at it. First of all, reflect on your feelings when you woke up and saw that in a matter of 3 minutes from landing to taking the dictator out of his bedroom. I mean, what an incredible operation. Your thoughts?
Well, this is classic President Trump delivering on promises to protect the American people and put America first, to keep us safe, secure, and prosperous. This is a dictator that had flooded our country with drugs and thugs, and it was way past time to bring him to justice. That's what's happening in this Trump administration right now, is restoring the rule of law in our country and protecting really the Western Hemisphere from really a scourge that was happening. And you see the jubilance, the joy that is happening, not just here, but obviously in Venezuela, for people being free and safe again. And to ensure that we continue that, this court case is going to carry on, and you're going to see the Democrats protest against it, because anything that President Trump does, they're going to protest, even if it's good for the American people. But that's not going to deter anyone in the Trump administration for doing the right thing.
Kelly, I'm terribly confused. I believe I remember a few weeks ago there was this whole No Kings protest, one after another being held across the country. And yet, when you take out an actual dictator, a narco-terrorist, a guy who had a hub of international crime going on from China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, shipping millions of people out of his country, millions of pounds of illegal drugs, and now the Democrats want to side with a dictator. How is that? These are some of your former colleagues in the United States Senate. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised at all, but people have short memories up here in this town. The American people don't, but Biden had put a $25 million bounty on his head and raised that to 50 million at the end of his presidency, and the Democrats had no problem with that, as long as there wasn't any action taken. But it's a new day in this country. Thank goodness for President Trump's resolve to keep us safe and strong. And it's wild to watch Democrats protest his every move to help the American people, to help people that have been oppressed, led by a king, a dictator, no less a narco-terrorist. So what we're going to keep doing is the right thing, and it looks like the Democrats are going to keep protesting it. So
to me, it's also shocking that anybody at this point, when Donald Trump says something, that they don't believe it or don't take it seriously. Oh, he doesn't really mean that. You look at the border. You look at drug runners. You look at the Iran nuclear facilities. You can go right down the list, and the list is long of accomplishments, helping out the American taxpayer with big tax breaks going into effect this year and retroactive through last year as well, saving people tremendous amounts of money, including small businesses. If people, whether they're world leaders in places like Iran or China or Colombia, if they don't take the president seriously, and others don't as well, I don't know what else I would tell him. When he says something, he means it, and he goes and gets it done, doesn't he?
He sure does. I mean, he's one of the most honest politicians we've ever had in this country. I mean, he says exactly what's going on, what he's going to do. He's very clear. He gave Maduro lots and lots of chances to do the right thing. He refused to do it. But the other thing is the president's been right about everything. So it's just time after time, we just see that we just needed a new president to get all this stuff done, because it was eminently doable. It just took the resolve and the strength and, frankly, the right team. And the president has cast an amazing team to serve in the federal government and to do the work. And he believes in our military and our law enforcement. And this was a heroic effort carried out by every level of law enforcement, our military, and my fellow administration officials. And I really applaud them.
You know, it seems to me sometimes people might think that he's a little too honest, a little too open, a little too transparent. That might be one of the things that gets him in a little bit of trouble here and there. But I appreciate it. He is the most transparent president of my lifetime, for sure. Let's talk about transparency and fraud in Minnesota. Tim Walz said he has been working for years to get fraud under control, that he had done nothing wrong. He was fighting for the citizens of Minnesota, and then he dropped out of the race for governor because it was a dead-end road. His political career is over. Just think, he could have been vice president of the United States. Thankfully, he's not. But what do you make of the fraud? Because a lot of this fraud is perpetuated in the name of small business, be it daycares or different programs for home health care, different things that they committed massive fraud on a scale that I don't think we've seen previously, but I think we might see more coming. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It is breathtaking, and I think the American people are rightfully angry at what they're seeing. And as soon as we saw it Thanksgiving weekend, remember, it was just about over a month ago that we found out the scale of this fraud.
Yeah.
Our agency immediately got to work reviewing thousands of loan files, upwards of 20,000. As a result of that work, and my team working through the holidays, this is what the Trump administration does. We're all at work, we're showing up every day. But we've found about 7,000 people that we've been able to prevent from ever getting SBA services again. That includes disaster loans. So we're moving quickly, and that's the message of this administration, whether it's HUD or USDA or HHS. We are going to hold people accountable. There are going to be prosecutions. We're working with federal law enforcement, and we think it's just the tip of the iceberg. And this gives us a blueprint to go state by state and look back at bad actors who exploited COVID or other welfare programs to make sure that we do not have a system in this country that rewards crime and stealing and lying.
Sure. Well, real people get hurt here. What about the kids that have autism? And these autism centers are literally sucking out billions of dollars in fraud. Or for meal programs. There was a video that I saw. The federal government had set up cameras around the building. They were claiming to serve 4,000 to 6,000 meals a day. The cameras revealed they never had more than 40 people in and out of that building, in and out of that restaurant. I mean, that's taking services away from Americans, veterans, small business, children. To say it's criminal is quite an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you look at the scale of the fraud there, and you think about how many working families in Minnesota had to work months and months just to pay their taxes that were then defrauded and stolen by people that potentially are sending the money over to Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda terrorist
Yeah.
linked network, buying vacation homes, driving luxury cars. When families are trying to educate their children, help them with autism, those resources are being stolen. Hundreds of whistleblowers in Minnesota came forward, presented this to the governor, and then the governor did the same thing he tried to do to Nick Shirley, which was defame them and say, don't listen to them. This isn't, a good person. So what we're trying to make sure that we do is not to let up. Just because the governor isn't going to run for another term doesn't mean that this ends anything. We're doubling down. That means we're going across the country, and we're not going to stop in Minnesota. We think there's a lot more to do there.
Yeah, a lot more in Minnesota, California, Illinois, New York, the big states, the big blue states are certainly suspect, because if it's on this scale in Minnesota, a fairly small state, who knows what you find when you get into Gavin Newsom's administration. All right, we're going to hold that thought right there, because when we get back, we're going to talk about the small businesses of America. They are the backbone of this country. They got hammered during the COVID pandemic. A lot were hurt, but you're bouncing back. 2026 looks a pretty good year. Kelly Loeffler here with me from the U.S. Small Business Administration. We'll be right back after this.
To get a
All right, quick programming note. Part 2 of my interview with Kelly Loeffler will be tomorrow right here on the Steve Gruber Show, so make sure you join me for that. Shifting gears, as we talked about right off the top of the program, the vaccine schedule has been changed dramatically by the Trump administration as promised. What does it mean? Well, let's bring in an expert, Dr. Penn Tapper, Director of Epigenetics at the Wellness Company, joining me now. Doctor, nice to see you again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to Steve. It's good to be here.
And a Happy New Year for parents. You told me in the break it's from 79 vaccines down to 11. This is monumental. How important is this and why?
Yes, it's huge. It's monumental. The reason is because, Steve, we have a massive epidemic of chronic disease in our children. Our children are not healthier. We have more neurological developmental delays than ever before. And, we weren't addressing the elephant in the room until now. And so this is why we are following the European vaccine schedule. I think it's a massive, massive shift in the right direction. You're going to see some healthier children from the outcome of this. People can still get all the vaccines if they want them. The insurance will still cover them. So, the people's heads are exploding over this whole change, but it's for the better, make no mistake. Where you're following the European vaccine schedule, which is down to 11 vaccines instead of 72 doses of vaccinations, but we have it down to 11 now. So this is a step in the right direction.
Well, here's where I'm confused. If we're following the European model, which we are, why are the people on the left screaming? They always want to be like Europe. And here we are being like Europe, and they have a problem with it. I'm confused, doctor. Help me.
Yeah, right. Well, I think I'm just as confused as you are, sir. I don't have an answer for that, but it is comical. And this is the thing. Health is it's not really a political issue here. This is health should never be a political issue, and it is becoming more and more a political issue. And I think the people on the left are going to roll up their sleeves and try to get every 72 doses just out of spite here, But it really is for the better, and I'm glad to see Trump make this massive, massive decision.
I think millions of parents agree with that point of view. All right, another big bit of news. The wellness company's Harvey Risch just named the chair of President Trump's cancer panel. Tell me about who Dr. Risch is and why this is important.
Well, Dr. Harvey Risch is one of the docs that really stood in the gap courageously during the pandemic. He spoke out against the dangers of mRNA vaccinations. He also spoke out against the turbo cancers. So he's a doc. He's very, very brilliant. I'm thankful that he's appointed to this position. He's going to be one of those docs that are going to probably make some serious changes in this industry. I mean, the cancer industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and so some things really need to change here. The establishment, big pharma, really, they don't want to cure cancer; they want to manage it, and that's the problem. So doctors,
well, it's lucrative. Like you said, it makes them a lot of money.
It makes them a lot of money. So Dr. Risch is going to go in there and he's going to hopefully make some changes for the better.
Now, when you talk about, cost savings and effective treatment, one of the things you and I have talked about on this program a number of times, ivermectin and mebendazole. They've gotten a lot of attention recently for their potential to fight cancer. Explain to me what this combination is and what it can do for people that are dealing with oncology.
Well, first off, we have to look at what cancer really is. And a lot of people are, saying that cancer is parasitic in nature. And so ivermectin and mebendazole are some heavy hitters in that department. And, they are a fraction of the cost of these cancer medications that are out there on the market right now. So they're cheap, highly effective, very promising treatment protocols for cancer. I mean, people are using it for cancer. And, I'm not saying it's going to cure cancer, but there's literature out there and information that's very, very promising to show benefits to helping people with cancer. And, it makes you wonder, it'll really change the paradigm if we find out that cancer is 100% parasitic in nature. And that's why these, I think, medications are very effective.
It will change the paradigm and the bottom line because treatments like ivermectin and mebendazole are very affordable. In fact, some would say they're cheap, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they are. They're very inexpensive. I mean, I don't know if you ever priced out cancer, but it's a very expensive. I think the average cancer patient pays $350,000 to $400,000. Throughout their treatment protocols. And so it's very expensive. These medications for cancer are highly expensive. And this is the thing, Steve, every 30 seconds, someone goes bankrupt due to medical bills that they can't afford. And so even that's even with the Cadillac insurance plans. So our healthcare system is broken. It's so expensive. And so finding other alternative treatments that are highly, inexpensive, Big pharma doesn't like that. They don't like competition. They're trying to bury this information. They're trying to bury and suppress a lot of the other alternative treatments, and they go after the people that are promoting alternative cancer treatments. Why? Because they want to monopolize disease here. They want to monopolize that industry, and it's really a shame.
Yeah. Now, look, Big Pharma to me does a lot of good with blood pressure and diabetes and different things, but they also capitalize on illness, as you pointed out. They want to cure people. They want to manage people's illness because that is a profit center that's ongoing and forever. But the wellness company put together mebendazole and ivermectin into a combined formula that you can get right now, right?
Yes, it's a very heavy hitter. It's a combo together. You can get it right from the wellness company, shipped right to your door. You don't need, to go to the doctor to get this. You can actually order it right from the site and have it shipped right to your door.
There you go. Dr. Ben Tapper, thank you for the updates on all of this. A lot of big things happening just to start the year. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. God bless you.
And as Dr. Tapper said, the big medical hack of 2025 was several peer-reviewed studies identifying the direct connections between antiparasitic medications having off-label benefits, fighting a wide variety of cancers. This makes sense. The connection between tumor growth and parasites has been known for years and identified for years. Follow the science, as our friends say. While the CDC remained silent, they have admitted that millions of Americans suffer from parasitic infections as well. This often goes undetected or undiagnosed. That's why Dr. Peter McCullough, the chief scientific officer at the Wellness Company and the world's most published cardiologist, says these studies make a clear case to do at least one medical-grade parasite cleanse annually. I followed that advice. The Wellness Company's proprietary USA compounded ivermectin mebendazole blend is a doctor-prescribed gold standard combination dose designed to help your body, eliminate parasites plus other incredible benefits. Each bottle contains 90 capsules, enough for a complete 21-day cleanses. 21-day cleanses. The high-strength formula cannot be found at your local pharmacy, but the Wellness Company has cut the red tape. Find it at a quick intake, fill out a quick background form, and away you go. twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save $60 and get free shipping today. twc.health/Gruber. Save $60, free shipping. I'll be right back. well, how bad, look, we say Venezuela, we lost New York City. I don't know how we come out in that equation. We'll keep an eye on it. But, I mean, the socialists took over New York City. How bad did it get and how fast? Well, listen to this. The new person in Mamdani's administration in charge of housing said that owning a house is white supremacy. I can't even make that up. Owning a house is white supremacy, according to the person that he just put in charge, C. Weaver. Said transitioning away from private property ownership will impact white families. The end of private property and home ownership in New York City. I can't even believe I'm talking about this, but if you want more evidence, listen to this.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
No, a different relationship to property. The end of private property rights is the slope into the oblivion of communism. That's what it is. Make no mistake, my friends. What they're advocating for here is communism, not socialism, not democratic socialism, something just far worse. An end to private property ownership. You don't own your house. You get to live in one controlled by the government. You ever looked at government housing? How'd that work out for everybody? Yeah, Mamdani, I predicted last August that he would be elected. I also predicted that he would be recalled from his job as mayor. I stand by that prediction today. He will be recalled. He will be tossed out of office because these kinds of programs will absolutely fail the people of New York City. Absolutely fail. Much of it will be challenged in court as well. All right, coming up in the next hour, Greenland. I tell you again, we will control Greenland before Donald Trump leaves the presidency, and maybe much sooner. We'll talk about it coming up in the next hour right here on The Steve Gruber Show. There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here of the program. Glad you're on board with us, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. And in a brand new year, it's never been more important than it is today. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, did you know that owning your home, the American dream is nothing but white supremacy? That, according to the person just put in charge of housing by Mamdani in New York City. Let that sink in if you hadn't heard. Number two, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has been dissolved after being defunded by Congress, and yet PBS and NPR are still on the air. Seems they didn't need my money after all. And number three, President Trump and his administration are making it clear they are still very serious about complete control of the island of Greenland because it is vital to American security to defend against incursions from China and Russia. We're both trying to find ways to dominate the Arctic and make inroads into the Western Hemisphere. Donald Trump says no. This is not a pipe dream, let me be clear, or some random rhetoric. It is just another one of President Trump's clear warnings to the world that we are serious, deadly serious, about defending the Western Hemisphere and kicking the bad actors out. And if you don't think the nations on our side of the world are not on our side, you've not been paying attention. Elections in recent years have seen an absolute flood of pro-American and pro-Trump candidates win, the most recent in Honduras, but also Argentina, Peru, Chile, Ecuador, the list goes on. This is the repudiation of socialism and communism in the Western Hemisphere. And the ouster of dictator Nicolas Maduro was met with widespread enthusiasm across Central and South America. Look at the polling numbers. Places like Costa Rica supported it by 85% of those asked. Yes. But I believe the next stop could be Greenland. Now, the president has warned Colombia and Nicaragua and Iran and others, but I think the next stop is going to be Greenland. The chatter is ratcheting up. I can promise you, before Donald Trump leaves the presidency, we will be running Greenland. And the folks in Copenhagen, well, they're going to be awfully butthurt. And so what? It's our hemisphere. It's our future. And controlling the Arctic is critical. Stephen Miller laying out the promise that the United States must have complete control of Greenland for our national security. Here he is.
It has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
And why are we so concerned with Greenland? Well, let me put it simply to you. Do you trust the UK to defend this country with their military bases? I certainly don't. The UK is in free fall. They arrest people for posting on Facebook and Twitter if they don't like the tweet or the post or the meme. They put people in jail for that. So I don't trust those folks. Iceland's not in a position to do much to help us out. We have a military base in Greenland already, a big military base, to control access to the Arctic, which the Chinese and Russians are working hard to do. Go ahead, look at a globe, look at the top of the world and see where Greenland sits. First of all, it sits in the Western Hemisphere. This is the Monroe Doctrine. It is the next obvious step, and it is obvious. We need Greenland. It's infested with Chinese and Russian naval vessels right now. And we're on the road to kick the Chinese and other bad actors out of the Western Hemisphere. Here's more.
There was a lot of criticism from Denmark, a lot of attacks at the Trump administration, at the president, at me, at others in our administration for saying the obvious, which is that Denmark hasn't done a good job at keeping Greenland safe. And one of the things I heard was, well, what about the many Danes who lost their lives in the war on terror fighting alongside the United States? Well, look, we obviously honor the sacrifice of our Danish friends in the war on terror 20 years ago, just as, for example, the French honor the sacrifice of Americans in Normandy 80 years ago. But recognizing that there are important security partnerships in the past does not mean that we can't have disagreements with allies in the present about how to preserve our shared security for the future. And that's what this is about. There is no amount of bullying, no amount of obfuscating, no amount of confusing the issue. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is.
And let me say again, without question, there are 59,000 people, give or take, that live on the island. They're a semi-autonomous island, meaning they're allegedly owned by Denmark, but Denmark does little or nothing to help them out. They rule themselves. And we're not talking about a military invasion here. We're talking about a transaction of some sort, something that will benefit those 60,000 people, bring investment, bring money, a lot of American money to their island. And Bill O'Reilly here, old as he is, lays out the truth about Greenland. Listen.
Okay, so all of this is what Trump does. He creates chaos, and then he gets his deal. We need, the United States, military bases in Greenland. I suspect we will get them. All right? That's what it's all about. I'm sorry the CNN viewers are so upset. I really am. And they bring on some Danish guy with a pipe and a beard. Oh, the story, it's like, this is a cartoon. Let's live in the real world.
Let's live in the real world. And in the real world, you have real threats from China and Russia. They just got major setbacks in Venezuela. Cuba is going to teeter and fall. They depended almost exclusively on Venezuelan oil. Well, guess what? That's gone. That's over. So what does it mean for Cuba? Financial disaster, financial ruin. Of course, communism already brought that to Cuba. This will be the final stamp on the death certificate, the final nail in the coffin. But Greenland, infested by Chinese and Russian naval vessels that will not stand. The Monroe Doctrine, or the Donroe Doctrine, if you will, has never been more important than it is today. Defending this country has never been more complex or complicated than it is today. Greenland is an important piece of that puzzle, and it's been in play for 150 years. This is not something that Donald Trump dreamed up. This has been discussed and theorized and strategized for 150 years in America. It's about time we got it done. And again, we will. I'll take a break and be back on The Steve Gruber Show. Yeah, a lot of things in motion right now, that's for sure. Currently, the vice president, Rodriguez, is in charge of Venezuela. Apparently, she had a polite call with the president. I don't think it stands for very long. There needs to be elections in Venezuela. But on the other hand, even though some people are pushing back and saying, well, the opposition should be put in charge. No, you need some stability now that Maduro has been yanked out of there. Joining me now is Dr. Josh McConkey, United States Air Force colonel, retired, an emergency physician, military commander, an award-winning author. Pretty good resume, Doc. Good to have you here.
Yeah, good morning from North Carolina and the home of special operations.
There you go. How impressed were you with special ops? Those Rangers nailing it. Unbelievable.
You know, the surgical precision that took to complete that mission. I have flown I have flown an air assault myself in 2007 in Iraq. Night vision goggles, 3 a.m, crazy stressful. The amount of planning that goes into that is unbelievable. To pull that off with 150 aircraft there's nobody else on the planet that can do that.
They practice. They reevaluate. They go over the mission. They practice again. This goes on day after day after day. I know some people in special ops. It's a remarkable coordination. I mean, to call it a ballet is understating how complex and complicated it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I served as medical director for Combat Search and Rescue, the PJs, which are part of Air Force Special Operations, and they do partake in missions like this. And I just never short of amazement. They work so hard. The mental makeup, the physical makeup to do those types of jobs. These individuals are freaks of nature. There's not many people on the planet that can do that. And I tell you, I'm certainly proud to wear the uniform. I serve in the Air Force Reserves right now. So those days are long behind me, but it's very impressive.
Let me ask you about that, because as you say that, Senator Mark Kelly comes to mind. He wore the uniform. And he, along with several other Democrats, came out a few weeks ago and said, do not follow unlawful orders. Of course, they gave no examples, but basically what they did is they told military members, you can decide whether it's a lawful order or an unlawful order. That is absurd. He should be held to account. I think that Pete Hegseth is moving in that direction. What did you make of that when you heard it, and where are those folks today?
Boy, those seditious six. I've served for 23 years in the military. I've never seen anything like that. And can you imagine members of Congress saying that during the Vietnam War? Just coming flat out and telling people to ignore lawful orders. Incredibly bizarre, very disappointing. And, certainly members of the military, we follow orders. This is not political. And I do feel that those 6 individuals they definitely have explaining to do and should be held to account.
If you don't follow orders, people die. That's the bottom line. If you don't follow orders and follow the chain of command, people die. It's a well-oiled machine, obviously. 3 minutes from the time they put those helicopters on the ground until they had Maduro in handcuffs. 3 minutes, folks. Think about how incredible that is. If people don't follow orders, bad things happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen those mistakes made in combat. I've carried the body bags of American heroes. And when you're making those types of life and death split-second decisions under night vision goggles at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't be thinking in the back of your mind, oh my gosh, could this be an illegal order? That was just ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. All right, so in order to maintain some stability in the country, I think that's the plan here. I don't think the long-term plan is to keep the vice president in place in Venezuela, but as far as running the country goes, the United States is not running the country, but we are calling the shots. I think there's a bit of a nuance there that people need to understand. What would you say to that?
I think having the guidance there is critical during this time of transition. We need a strong Venezuela. We need a strong security partner. And then you talk about those natural resources alone, the top oil reserves, natural gas, gold. It really comes down to our national security picture, and the encroachment of China, Russia, and Iran into that space on our back doorstep was untenable. It was clearly a threat to national security. And so we need that guidance there. And, however this administration, decides that's going to be, but helping them through that transition is very critical.
It is. Speaking of being untenable with Russia and China in our hemisphere, I move to the next part of the equation, which, look, the president warned Colombia and Nicaragua, and when Donald Trump warns somebody, you'd be very smart to pay attention. But I think next up is Greenland. And I've predicted and will continue to predict that Greenland will be under United States control before Donald Trump leaves the White House. I believe that for all the reasons you just laid out. We need to defend the Western Hemisphere at the South and at the North, don't we?
Yeah, and I think Cuba needs to be extremely worried right now. So that I think is a very big threat, has been a threat, and we've been concerned for decades and decades there. Greenland, the strategic importance is unquestionable. So I certainly don't think there's going to be any military action there at all. We have allies in the region, some transactions, but we need those bases. We need that national security picture tightened up. And if I were Cuba, I'd be very nervous.
Well, in Cuba, a lot of countries have taken a big hit from losing the Venezuelan oil. China, Russia, Iran. But Cuba relies almost exclusively on Venezuelan oil. They're already ruined from communism. This could be the final death blow to the regime there, couldn't it?
Yeah, that is a very wobbly domino, and that would probably be the first one to fall.
Can you imagine, though, isn't it? You look at most recently, the elections in Honduras, the follow the elections in Chile, the follow the elections in Argentina. Communism is getting run out of the Western Hemisphere at light speed. I just, look, Doctor, I don't know if I ever would have thought that we would reclaim capitalism and democracy, but Donald Trump is doing it. Last word to you.
Yeah, this has been done before. 1990, Panama, Manuel Noriega.
Yeah.
There is a blueprint there. The success in Panama, they've done very well. They're a great strategic partner. China has been involved a lot more than we would like in the Panama Canal region. But this has been done before.
Yeah, giving away the Panama Canal, one of the most foolish things ever done by an American president. That, of course, Jimmy Carter. Doctor, thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate your input today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. We're going to take a break. Panama, look how well they run since Noriega was taken out. The problem is the incursions by the Chinese. The Silk Road Initiative, it's coming unraveled, as it should. Get out of our hemisphere. We'll be right back. All right. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has ceased to exist. It was the mothership, if you will, of NPR and PBS. Congress voted to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, saying, look, what do you need our money for? And to be clear about this, I listen to NPR sometimes. I think Nova on PBS is a phenomenal series. I do. I think it's remarkable. They do incredible work. The photography, the cinematography is, well, second to none when it comes to documentaries in many ways. But the truth of the matter is the American taxpayer has been on the hook for decades paying for those things. Now, people think, well, it's going to go away. NPR is not going away. PBS is not going away. Taxpayers covered about 10 to 15% of the bill. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, it's gone. But what this tells me, with PBS and NPR still on the air, they didn't need my money or yours. So why were we putting all that money there year after year, decade after decade? Look, there's 100 television stations or 1,000 or whatever there is now with streaming. Compete. Earn your way just like everybody else. You don't need government-run media. You don't. In fact, I think it's a bad thing unless we don't need Pravda, right? We don't need Pravda here in the United States. So NPR and PBS, they will compete. They create quality products. Now, I don't listen to NPR News because I think it's a bit off the mark. I get that. But there are a lot of people that like it. And for the people that like it, they can fund it. They can send in a check. They can support it. Or they can sell advertising like everybody else and support their projects, their programs, and their staff and their facilities and their infrastructure. They can do that on their own. They don't need me to pay their bill. I mean, I don't ask for government money. I don't demand that you, the taxpayer, fund this program. No, I go out there and we hustle, we sweat, we work to make it happen. And then, to the best of our ability, we tell the truth right here to you. And I'm glad we do. You can always find out more at stevegruber.com. It's a great website, great articles, and you can send me an email. It's up and running again. We finally got that little bug worked out. Tell me what's happening in your neck of the woods. Give me a hot story to follow. We'll do it. stevegruber.com. I'll be right back. A lot of questions in the aftermath of the capture of Nicolas Maduro, the narco-terrorist dictator who ran roughshod over his country and his citizens, drove over them with tanks and military vehicles, murdered them in the streets. If they didn't like what you had to say, you just disappeared. But what now? Paul Perez is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He joins me with his input. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
People in Venezuela celebrating. And I look at the polling numbers out of places, Costa Ricans, for example, 85% support for the ouster of Nicolas Maduro. And yet some people here are gnashing their teeth and gripping their hands in full-on panic as if taking a criminal out of Venezuela, which, by the way, we've had an extradition treaty with Venezuela for more than a century. And he was indicted in a federal court in New York, the Southern District. Everything that was done here is completely lawful on American law and Venezuelan law under that extradition treaty. True or false?
Oh, 100% true. President Trump removed the head of a cartel. That's what he did. And by doing so, he sent a message to Venezuela and, quite frankly, to the rest of the world that he's not going to play these games. He's not going to allow brutal dictators like Maduro to continue flooding the United States with fentanyl, cocaine, and other drugs. He's not going to allow them to become a hub for narco-terrorism and for other cartels and other countries to bring their drugs into the United States. He sent a clear message, and we're glad he did it because it's going to put a severe damper into the Western Hemisphere's ability to traffic narcotics into the United States.
Sure. Now, the president made a comment about running Venezuela. Clearly, we're not doing that. He has not sent in some shadow government or handpicked anybody. In fact, the vice president of Venezuela has taken over control of the country. Apparently, they had a phone call. It was fairly pleasant. But he said, don't cross me, basically. And I think he did that. A lot of people questioning that, Paul. Why would you leave the vice president in there that was Maduro's handpicked successor? She was never elected, just handpicked. And I think the answer is this, and I'd like you to weigh in on this. You've got chaos now in Venezuela as far as who's running the country. This is the best way to maintain some sort of order while you figure out what happens next. You can't just have complete chaos. You can't take out the entire government and leave a vacuum. We see what happens. We've seen that demonstrated time and again. So I think this is a strategic plan to keep the chaos to a minimum while they work toward actual free and fair elections. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, he left her in charge for now, but he did send a message, you know, play ball or else. And I think that or else is what's going to strike a chord with them because they understand, hey, you know what, this dude does not play games. America does not play games, and so we need to be on our toes, and we need to make sure that we cooperate with the United States. Look, they're giving millions and millions of barrels of oil back to the United States that they took from us. That's just one step, one very quick step that they're saying, hey, we are going to play ball. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the Venezuelan people to decide who they want. They had a previous election that Maduro refused to accept and leave office, but you know, they're going to put the person that they want in charge, and that person will be an ally of the United States.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Obviously, border is incredibly important. The border crossings down something like 96%. A large portion of those folks coming north came from Venezuela. 1/3 of the country fled. More than 8 million people. Now, I just talked to a lady yesterday she's from Mexico, but has a lot of Venezuelan friends, said they're all cheering because they think they can finally go home. What will that mean? Is that a reverse migration back to Venezuela from people in this country and elsewhere? Because, look, Venezuela is a beautiful country. They just had horrible leadership, right?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. Number one, Maduro, Venezuela, they flooded our country with, you know, a ton of criminals. They brought in Tren de Aragua, and we're removing them. We're removing them very, very well. And so it's been one of the priorities of this administration to get rid of criminal illegal aliens, especially those from transnational gangs like Tren de Aragua. So those guys are being sent back. The people of Venezuela that fled because of Maduro, they'll self-volunteer. They'll self-deport. They'll volunteer to self-deport. They'll go back because, yeah, like you said, it's a country that they want to be in now that they have that dictator out. So I think a lot of people from Venezuela will be going back to Venezuela.
Yeah, I've been talking about this for days now. You ignore Donald Trump's clear pronouncements, his warnings at your own peril. I mean, Maduro had a chance to off-ramp several times. He ignored it. This is what happens. He'll probably spend the rest of his life in the Supermax in Colorado near El Chapo in a cell not far away. But he has warned Colombia and Nicaragua. You cannot continue to play this game either. We're not going to let the Chinese and the Russians come into the Western Hemisphere and set up shop without consequences. That's what this is really about. Drugs are a big part of it. The border's a big part of it. But I think the big, most important piece on this field is China. And we're not just going to let them come in and set up shop and build military drones and military aircraft like they've been trying to do. They were trying to do that in Argentina as well before Malay came in. That's all over now, plus the oil that they're not going to get. That's a big blow to those folks, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge blow. And at the end of the day, it's about President Trump doing what he needs to do to protect Americans. He takes no responsibility greater than that, which is to protect Americans. That is the biggest thing to him. And he's going to do what he needs to do to protect us. And if that means making sure that people like Maduro or people in Colombia or other countries that are allowing Russia and China to use them, he's going to take them out as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Let me move to one other thing here. Not exactly in your wheelhouse, Paul, but we've been talking about it this morning. And that is the Western Hemisphere from the south end to the north end where Greenland sits. Here's my prediction. We will control Greenland before Donald Trump leaves office because we have to. Because we have to. It's also infested with Chinese and Russian naval vessels who are trying to take control of the Arctic. And anybody that looks at the top of a globe can see Greenland is the most strategic piece of real estate in the North Atlantic. I believe that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to take any military intervention. There's only 60,000 people there or less. I think we're going to buy it or we're going to make a deal of some sort, a transaction of some sort. We're going to control it because we have to. Last word to you.
Yeah, I think President Trump and his administration, his national security team, they took a look. They take a look at that daily, and they realize what it is we need. And if they need it, I think, yeah, exactly. I agree with you. We're going to get it.
We're going to get it. Paul Perez, President of the National Border Patrol Council. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
So what do you think about the Monroe Doctrine? It's been in place for more than 220 years. Basically, the Western Hemisphere, we're going to control what happens here. You worry about you. Now, there are threats coming from Denmark that if we take over Greenland, it'll be the end of NATO. Well, 80 years on from the end of World War II, what do you think about that? Maybe the Europeans should defend themselves. They've neglected their own defense, their own military for years, decades in fact, expecting Big Brother America to foot the bill and defend them, which we've done for 80 years. Maybe it's time for America to just say, this is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we operate. Stay out. That basically, in essence, is the Monroe Doctrine. And it's now the Trump Doctrine. This is our hemisphere. We're not going to play games. We will be fair, but firm. China, you're not welcome here to set up shop. Russia, you're not welcome here. Iran, no. Cuba, well, I don't think Cuba's going to make it anyway. They've lost their oil. They were already in trouble. That is a very wobbly domino, as one of my guests said this morning. We'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Well, 2026 off to a very quiet start. Yeah. Nothing to cover here. Nothing to talk about. Yeah, okay. Reagan Reese is the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. She joins me now. Reagan, welcome to this new year. Not much to talk about, right?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. It's been the slow start to the year I totally needed.
Yeah, very sleepy. I bet you get no rest there at the White House. I'm there from time to time. It's a busy place every day and extra busy right now. Look, the Venezuelan extradition of the dictator dominating the headlines, but so much more going on as well. In fact, I'm watching videos moments ago of what's going on in Iran. Nobody's even talking about what's going on in Iran. 100 cities now in uprising. We should be covering that as well, but what do you think is the most dominating story right now to you, and why?
That's really interesting. I think what is going to emerge as the most dominating story is the Trump administration's plan for the 2026 midterms. I think that was the dominating story before the Venezuela stuff. We were talking a lot about affordability and how the administration was attacking that issue. We see the president going on his cross-country tour to talk about affordability, J.D. Vance trailing close behind him. On Iran, I will say that I do think Iran will get more press coverage if the president takes action in Iran. And he threatened that on Truth Social. He said if Iran goes after the protesters, that the United States will step in, and that I believe he said we are locked and loaded and ready to go. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, I don't, maybe this is a bluff by President Trump. And then I believe a couple days later, I wake up to a bunch of notifications on my phone that we've captured Maduro. And I was like, okay, maybe he was serious about Iran. So, it would not surprise me if we saw the president take action in Iran. Yeah. And then I think that will become the dominating story.
Look, when Donald Trump says, I'm warning you, they should take him seriously, whether it's Venezuela or Tehran when they were building up their nuclear facilities, or Colombia now, or Nicaragua, or Greenland. Look, I have said, and I will repeat, we will control Greenland before Donald Trump leaves the White House. One way or the other, we will, because we have to, because of national security in the North Atlantic. And if he's truly going to enforce the Monroe Doctrine, that goes all the way from the South Pole to the North Pole, and he's serious about it. Here's a secondary headline, though, I'd like you to weigh in on, because you mentioned the midterm elections. The scandal in Minnesota is obviously another huge story. Tim Walz steps out of the race for governor, saying, I'm completely innocent in fighting for Minnesota, but I'm going to get out of the race. Well, the most likely person to replace him is Senator Amy Klobuchar. Minnesota's a mess. I mean, I've watched KARE 11 TV out of Minneapolis for several days now. I mean, they're reporting it all the fraud, all the corruption. If Amy Klobuchar leaves to run for governor, that leaves 2 open Senate seats in Minnesota. It's a real problem for the Democrats.
Yeah, Minnesota is one of those issues that I think is definitely shaping up to be a good thing for the GOP. Before the Minnesota scandal really picked up, I had asked the president, it was right after he called Tim Walz a word that angered so many people. I asked the president if he thought Tim Walz should resign. And he went on to call Somalis trash. And he talked a lot about the fraud. And every major news network covered that response from the president. But instead of covering his talk about the fraud, they covered the fact that he called Somalis garbage. And now we're seeing this scandal really compound and become a giant issue that Democrats cannot ignore. And the best spin that I've seen from the Democrats has been, oh, they're focusing on this to distract from the Epstein files, which no one believes. That wasn't like this Minnesota fraud was planted so the Trump administration could stop talking about the Epstein files. It's just absurd. And so I think as this has gotten worse and worse, it's been a better situation for the Trump White House and the GOP to start bringing up Tim Walz and showing how bad Democrats, they're still in disarray.
We're almost at the 1-year anniversary, speaking of failed Democratic leadership, we're almost the 1-year anniversary now, the massive fires in California. How come we're not seeing the rebuilding videos? Oh, that's because they're not rebuilding there. Talk about failed leadership. And when you go into California or Illinois and New York and talk about corruption and fraud there, it's going to be multiples of what we found in Minnesota. This is a nationwide problem, but it's going to be exacerbated in places like California, Illinois, New York, and Minnesota. And I think you're right. But those Senate seats, the Democrats thought, well, we can take back the Senate. There's no chance on God's green earth they're going to take back the Senate at this point. Not when they have to defend 2 seats and informally blew Minnesota. I don't know what Minnesota is today, but they're not what they were a couple of weeks ago. That's for sure. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think that it definitely is going to be a state that we're going to see the GOP really fight for and Democrats be in trouble. And I think this is just a big problem for the Democrats, especially with the fact that it's Tim Walz who is at the helm for this, a former vice president candidate for the country. It just shows you the state of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to be on defense. So is Georgia, New Hampshire, Michigan. All those places have open Senate seats held by Democrats. They're going to be playing defense, and I don't think they're going to play particularly well. Reagan Reese, always nice to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller. She's in the room with Caroline Levitt on a regular basis, including yesterday. We like to bring on the best people that are the best connected to make you the most informed audience in media today. It's our job, and we take it seriously. And I'm going to tell you right now, that race, or those many races for the United States Senate, the Democrats are going to lose a couple of seats in the Senate. They're going to be on their heels a little bit farther, a little bit deeper going into 2028. Take my word for it. The Republicans will pick up seats in the U.S. Senate if the economy remains where it is. If Donald Trump's resolve remains where it is, and of course it will, then places like Minnesota are in play. I never thought we'd be saying that. Minnesota and those Senate seats will be in play. Tina Smith retiring. Amy Klobuchar most likely running for governor there. It puts Minnesota in play in a way that I have not seen it in my lifetime. Think about that. I'm going to take a break and come back with Sports with Brock after this. All right, time to check in on sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Another head coaching opening in the NFL as the Baltimore Ravens fired longtime head coach John Harbaugh yesterday afternoon. This comes 2 days after Baltimore lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 26-24 in a game that determined the AFC North title. Harbaugh was the coach in Baltimore since 2008, leading the team to a Super Bowl title in 2012. There are now 7 head coaching openings in the NFL. In the NBA last night, there were 6 games. Winners included Cleveland, Washington, Dallas, and the LA Lakers. In the NHL, there were 10 games last night. Winners included Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Vegas, and Edmonton. The Lightning's 4-2 win over Colorado was Tampa Bay's 8th straight win. In men's college basketball, number 2 Michigan, number 6 Duke, and number 7 Houston all won close games. And in women's college basketball, Oregon upset 21st-ranked USC 71-66. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock. So Harbaugh is out. Harbaugh is out, right?
Yeah, that's a surprise. Man, he's been there almost 20 years. Probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. His record is outstanding.
Yep.
And now he's already been mentioned for the vacant New York Giants job.
Yeah, he won't be unemployed very long.
No, he won't. No, he won't.
And in
Very
fact,
highly thought of.
He might get a pay raise. You know.
And he could get a pay raise out of it. That's right.
That's right. So here's something else I've been reading about, Brock, and maybe you can help me out. The Winter Olympics coming up, what, next month?
Yes, in February.
Right. They can't sell tickets. They're like at 60% of ticket sales. They're having a horrible time selling tickets. Why?
I have heard that they are vastly overpriced.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I've heard. I read something about that yesterday. Well, that's a problem. How about, lowering ticket prices to make it more affordable for everybody?
And attractive, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I thought about that because I'm going to be, Ron Rademacher's coming up in the next hour, and we're working on a time to go curling, which is my favorite thing to watch. Have you done it?
I think it's fun to watch. It's like shuffleboard on ice. There's some chess moves that are involved with it, and it's pretty cool to watch. And the U.S. has a chance to medal in February.
Exactly. And I have a chance to medal right here in Michigan. I'll be the curling champion of the state. Well,
really?
My dream, anyway, Brock.
Well, there you go.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll talk with Ron Rademacher and so much more coming up in the next hour right here on The Steve Gruber Show. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And let's kick off another brand new hour of the program. Glad you're on board with us as we dig deeper into 2026. A lot going on, that's for sure. That's why we fight for you every single day from the foxhole of freedom. We're here putting America first every day and telling you the truth and digging deeper into the stories here. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, a death of a congressman, a Republican congressman, leaves Speaker Mike Johnson with the bare minimum 218 members because the man's death came on the same day that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned from Congress. Number two, a teacher in Dearborn says the United States is the world's worst terrorist. This is what he's teaching the kids right here in Michigan. Reprehensible. And number three, the Supreme Court will have a lot of Michigan cases this time around. Two big ones, in fact. Two big ones, which I find fascinating. One of them will be Line 5. It's not on procedure, but on procedure, that is, not policy. The Supreme Court will hear Enbridge Energy, LP v. Nestle. It's a case with major implications for Michigan's long-running legal battle over the Line 5 pipeline and the replacement tunnel. We should never have challenged this. It's a gift to Michigan. Enbridge, a huge transnational energy corporation based in Canada, came in and said, look, you don't like Line 5? It's a pipeline, as you know, that runs energy under the Straits of Mackinac. They said, we can dig a pipeline, replace the pipeline with a tunnel that will dig under the Straits of Mackinac 100 feet deeper. The tunnel can transport energy, information, anything, in fact, and we'll give it to you, Michigan, as a gift. It's a $500 million project, which, by the way, has probably gone a lot higher with the legal costs involved. At issue is not the merits of the pipeline dispute itself, but a procedural question whether courts can create exceptions to the 30-day deadline Congress set for removing a case from state court to federal court. Last year, the Cincinnati-based 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Enbridge missed its chance to move their case to federal court. Democrat Attorney General Dana Nessel filed the lawsuit June 2019, but Enbridge did not attempt to remove it from state court until November of 2021. Well beyond the deadline allowed under federal law, the lawsuit seeks to shut down Enbridge's Line 5 pipeline, alleging violations of Michigan's public nuisance and environmental laws. Enbridge argues that it should be allowed to move Michigan litigation into federal jurisdiction despite missing the deadline. The Michigan Attorney General's office opposes broad exceptions, arguing the timeline should be strictly enforced. The outcome could affect not only Line 5 in the jurisdictional fight, but also how timely procedural removals must be nationwide. We'll see how that plays out. Enbridge has won basically every step of the way, but missing a deadline can create real problems. It could here. It could here, that's for sure. And taxing and takings. Taxing and taking, another property rights case. The High Court will turn to Pung v. Isabella County. It's a case rooted in Michigan's tax foreclosure practices and one that Michigan News Source reported back in October. Michigan News Source, my news company on top of it, of course. This came after Isabella County seized and sold a home to satisfy unpaid property tax. It paid the estate only the surplus, not the full market value of the property. The Pung estate claims this violated the Fifth Amendment's takings clause and the Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause because the process extracted more value than necessary and then shortchanged the estate. I am hoping for the Pung estate to prevail here. This is why property taxes are such a disaster. If you're a retired person on a fixed income and you bought your house 25 years ago for $100,000, and now the assessor says it's worth 3 or 4 or 5 times that much, you're on the hook to pay the property tax, which you may not be able to afford, proving you don't really own anything because the government will swoop in and take your property. It's wrong. That's why states like Florida are ending property tax, because it's, well, wrong. Lower courts reject the notion that either constitutional protection applied, but the Supreme Court's decision to hear the case signals its willingness to revisit how broad these constitutional safeguards are in the context of tax foreclosures and local government action. A ruling for Pung could reshape how municipalities across the country handle tax lien foreclosures and protect property owners. We'll see what happens with that one. Both cases highlight different corners of constitutional law with real-world impacts, not just for Michigan, but across the country. One could influence whether federal courts can hear major environmental and interstate disputes like the Line 5 litigation, while the other may define constitutional limits on local government's ability to steal somebody's property. You can read these stories in detail. MichiganNewsSource.com. MichiganNewsSource.com. Meanwhile, that teacher in Dearborn, Tariq Bazee, a Dearborn man described as a teacher and activist at a Muslim academy, described the United States and Israel as the world's worst terrorists in a video he posted on Instagram this week. The video was posted by the pro-Israel organization, the Middle East Media Research Institute, which tracks down anti-Israel conduct online. In the Instagram video, Bazzi said, "And so with God as my witness, my guardian, and my judge, I declare clearly and explicitly that the United States and Israel are the world's worst terrorists, murderers, thieves, and enslavers. I declare with certainty that humanity will never know true freedom, peace, justice, and mutual love and respect so long as the two evils of U.S. imperialism and Zionist colonialism continue to exist." Radicalizing people from a young age right here on our soil. Teaching them to hate the country that embraces them. It's a dangerous thing to allow. The Hadi Institute didn't return an email requesting comment from Michigan News Source. I'm shocked. In April 2024, Memory posted videos of Bazzi's controversial comments at a rally in Dearborn where he chants, "Death to America, death to Israel." He was leading those chants. The chant, "Death to Israel," has become the most logical chant across the world today. Imam Khomeini, who declared International Al-Quds Day, this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shots upon the head of America, Bazzi said. And Tariq Bazzi's version of the Instagram account has the same language. Teaching people to hate here in America. It's a sad thing. It is a sad thing. Here you live in a country that offers opportunities. The right to pursue your God-given talents, regardless of your religion. Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, doesn't matter. You're allowed to pursue whatever course you want. Take your talents, whatever they are, and turn them into a career. To find financial windfalls. And they attack at every step of the way. This is a nation of free religion. And they attack that with violent rhetoric, calling for the overthrow of America. It's kind of nauseating, I guess. When we come back, it's not nauseating. It's time to take a deep cleansing breath and have some fun with Ron Rademacher. That's right, fun with Ron Rademacher after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, getting back into it now. I heard chaos during the break. Chaos, I'm telling you. Ron Rademacher trying to wrestle with his computer. When he hit the floor. Yeah, he's here traveling Michigan with his electronics, finding all those cool places and hating technology as much as I do. It's Ron Rademacher, everybody. Ron, how are you?
I am fine. I'm thinking maybe Anthony might be in the business of selling computer cameras because we've never had this problem before, and suddenly my camera is acting up. So,
but there you are.
But we had it was a technical issue. I don't want to bore everybody with it because we have more important things to talk about.
Amen. What's up, Ron? Is winter going away where you are? We had tremendous amounts of snow in November and December into the 1st of January, and now it's warm and raining. And don't get me wrong, my ponds need it, and I'm going to say thank you, God, because they were really low from the drought last summer, but here we are.
Yeah, it's happening the same way here. It is all slush out there now.
Slush.
And most of the snow is gone. It's raining. It is a typical, this is a typical Michigan winter. You know, I'm sure we'll have some freeze, and then it'll have some more snow. Then we'll have the January thaw.
Isn't this the January thaw?
We usually have a January thaw in January, and here we are.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. So, the days are getting longer. That's one sign, just so you know, for those, I haven't reached full winter depression yet. I know a lot of people have trouble with it getting dark and staying dark and being dark. I like it. It doesn't bother me, but we're gaining 54 minutes of daylight in the next 30 days. So the days are getting longer.
Really? 54 minutes?
Yeah. 54 minutes in the next 30 days. That's that update.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they do still have snow, even though we're losing it down here. Tequamanon, up in Newberry, they're having the Tequamanon County sled dog races this weekend.
Ooh, the slush dog race. They got snow up there though, still, right?
They got plenty of snow, and they have this year. They have two divisions so that the Utes can also get out there and mush. So if you got any young people who've been wanting to become a sled dog racer, get on up there and see how it's done. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these events, but it's fantastic. And these dogs, how they can be as disciplined as they are and not have a complete tangle is completely beyond me. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. I agree with. So Newberry, sled dog
races.
That's
Newberry. And there is snow here this weekend all over Michigan. You can go out on all the trails, all the ATV trails, free of charge this weekend. You don't need a permit for the trail. You don't need any kind of permits. It's free snowmobiling weekend. They should have done it last weekend, but nobody listens to me.
Huh?
We had more snow.
Huh?
But this weekend, yeah, huh? Thank you. And
don't be listening to me, huh?
Barcelona, they don't care. They're just having the power snowmobile races again this coming weekend. And I've mentioned Barcelona a few times this winter, but I love going through that town because the Iron Skillet is there. And anytime I can go to have breakfast at the Iron Skillet.
That place is great.
I mean, it is just incredible.
Yeah.
And we go out of our way to and they'll serve breakfast to you anytime. Their skillets are fantastic. Yeah, we've talked about this place before.
I've been there. We've been there. We are patrons. We are believers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will say this: if Rod says try a restaurant because it's great, it's great. If he gives it 5 stars, trust it. I'll just say that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because we go back. If we won't go back again and again, it doesn't get mentioned. And none of these places sponsor my work. Although some of them have shops that carry my books, like Iron Skillet, they have Rooted right next door. They sell Michigan Backroads books there. But the food has got to be awesome, or we just don't go back. And that place, you can't go wrong. You will have to wait, but because it's fairly small. But man, it's just worth it all.
There you go. Love it.
It's not all outdoors in the winter. I just want to get a couple other things in here. There are 2 things going on down in the south. Out on Belle Isle, I don't know if you've been out there, Steve, but that's quite a park.
Been a while.
And they're having their birding event January 11th. They have a fantastic atrium there, really worth going to. And one of the oldest aquariums in the United States is on that island as well. Very interesting. And then for me, I hope to get down there this weekend. We're not sure because we're on the world tour's on the road next weekend. But this weekend, the Ultimate Fishing Show is at the Suburban Collection in Detroit. I believe in Novi is where it's actually located.
Correct.
So,
Number 6.
I am short on fishing equipment. I think I'm down to 37 poles due to no fault of my own. I'm going to take care of that.
Yeah.
Well, that one stopped working, you know. That one stopped working, and then there was that tackle box with all that old stuff in it.
Yeah. I've got. How many tackle boxes do you have? Because I got. I mean, they just pile up over years.
Well, we have a section of the basement for tackle boxes. Yeah. The number is not important. It's that they are each is a specialized piece of equipment, and if you're going,
you might just need. You can't get rid of that. You might need that someday. Yeah.
There's no question. And then those extra treble hooks that you're gonna use.
You know, I still have treble hooks that have large chunks of lead. I mean, I'm talking about treble hooks as big as your fist, right? Back when snagging salmon in Michigan was legal. Well, they might make it legal again someday. That was from my dad's collection.
Yeah. That's old school. Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. Anyhow, so I guess, the last thing we need to talk about is that no ticket sales at the Winter Olympics are down, but ticket sales for the Gruber Rademacher curling competition should be robust. Ticket sales should be robust. I'll tell you, we're still working on it. In fact, I'm going to have Sarah get in touch with you. We're gonna make this happen, Ron. We're going curling, baby. All right.
Now we're getting somewhere. You're handing it off to Sarah, so now I know something will get done.
Results. So MichiganBackroads.com. MichiganBackroads.com. You can find out with Ron. Yeah. In fact, maybe you can go curling with us. Well, when we get this together and figured out, we're going to let you know here on the program. And that guy, Ron Rademacher, and me, we're going to have the grand championship. All right, Ron? Thank you.
Absolutely.
God bless America.
One hand tied behind my back, Gruber. That's how that's going down.
Okay. All right. So where are you going to travel this year? You going to travel much? I'm going to put Venezuela on hold, all right? Venezuela's going to have to wait before I tour that place. What if we do take over Greenland? It's been talked about for 150 years. Teddy Roosevelt talked about that. So did some other folks saying, look, that's a really important piece of real estate there. It's been neglected by the people that are the current caretakers, that being Denmark. There's like 59,000 people that live in Greenland. Probably a tough place to eke out a living. It's probably got summer for about a month, maybe 2 months. The rest of the time is pretty cold and desolate. But if we took it over, I would go there. You know why? Atlantic salmon. It's the holy grail of fly fishing. The Atlantic salmon on a fly. I do that in Iceland. I do that in Greenland. I would. Fly fish. Maybe that's my next little job. I'll create a fly fishing guide service in Greenland. Gruber's Greenland Guide Service has a nice ring to it, G3. There you go, right? What do you think about that, Anthony? You gonna go to Greenland with me or what? You gonna fire up and go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's take the S-10.
Put it on the ferry. I don't think the S-10 is gonna go. Maybe we'll get one of those big helicopters. We'll just drop it in there. Yeah. let's see here. So that's my hope for that. Man, it is sloppy and wet out there. I saw, man, Anthony, I saw you bite it yesterday so hard on a chunk of ice. I felt badly. Man, smashed his knee. You recovered yet?
It's banged up pretty bad.
You know, Anthony's a trickster. He likes practical jokes. No, he's a jokester. He is. And I'm out walking out to the vehicle, and bam, I hear him, I'm on the ground. I'm thinking, is that for real, or is he just pulling my leg? No, actually, it was hanging onto his leg because it was a little bloody, I guess.
You should get the workers' comp notice in the mail here soon.
That was not work. That was tomfoolery.
No.
Tomfoolery. Anyhow. See, Ivy's still on the way and so much more. We'll get Anthony on the mend, don't you worry, and I'll be right back. China, you know, tries to control everything, and not just in China, but globally. Social credit score, for example, they have digital eyes on everything. That's why what happened in Venezuela is such a blow to China. It takes their working platform out of Venezuela and taking some of their eyes off us. But it's the digital Berlin Wall, a lot of what they do, according to my next guest, Janice Trey. board chair of the Epoch Times and NTD TV. She's a CPA, a veteran Fortune 500 executive, a survivor of Chinese labor camps under Chairman Mao, the biggest mass murderer of the 20th century. Thank you for being here, Janice.
Steve, thank you for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. Let's talk about censorship in China, the social credit score. If you don't post things, you know, when we're seeing this happen in places like the UK and France, Canada. I mean, Canada blocks all sorts of content now. I never thought I'd see the day, but here we are, and they're following the Chinese plan, aren't they?
Unfortunately, the censorship has been going on for 20-some years. I was the executive director for Global Internet Freedoms Consortiums, a group of companies that band together and trying to provide the censorship circumvention tools so that people inside China can see what you, Steve and we can see here in the United States. And today, if you go to just without those censorship circumvention tools, if you type Dalai Lama, you get the anti-Dalai Lama sites. If you type Falun Gong, which is spiritual practice based on truth, compassion, forbearance, welcomed by 170 countries around the world, and you get the anti-Falun Gong websites. So why is the Communist Party trying to hide? They must be hiding something because of the censorship, the propaganda, the misinformation, the disinformations. For the past decades of the communist rule, for 5,000 years, there were no communisms. The censorship actually extended onto American soil. Give you an example, Shenyun Performing Arts, which is an American company founded by Americans, reviving 5,000 years civilization before communism. And so they have all sorts of tactics, from bomb threats to slit the ties of the bus of Shenyuns, because they don't want Americans to see Shenyun. They don't want
but let's talk about, let me talk about this though, Janice, because I want to take it to the next level here. The Epoch Times has been a great source of honest, straightforward news for years. I read it all the time. I've worked with the Epoch Times, made a documentary for the Epoch Times a couple of years ago on rural health care in America. And you guys are routinely censored by Facebook, X, other platforms, basically taking the knee to China in its demands. That's unacceptable.
Absolutely. I give you examples. So Google took away Epoch Times from the Google News. And so if you're not a subscribers, you don't find Epoch Times articles, even though we publish 200 articles per day, 5,000 original articles per month. And if you look at Facebook stopped accepting advertisements from Epoch Times and NDTV. Facebook at one point, NDTV alone have over 60 million, 60 million, followers on Facebook. And we were gaining subscription in Epoch Times by 17,000 new subscribers per month. So you're looking at over 200,000 new subscribers per year. They don't want us to grow. They've been censoring us. And, as Steve, you have been reporting on the healthcare industries and hospitals, and we report the side effects of the COVID vaccines, the concerns, but we are being censored. And but we never bend down, because it's so important to bring the truth to the audience. And Epoch Times and NETV both are nonprofits, and we only answer to our readers and our subscribers and our viewers. And regardless of the censorships, we continue on.
Yeah. How do we tear this down? How do we get Donald Trump and the administration to say, look, China, we don't believe in censorship? A good friend of mine, Esquire Bob, who gets mentioned on this program, I've told him for 10 years that we're under attack, freedom of speech. He said, no. Here just recently, he said, you know what, I have to agree with you. Freedom of speech is under attack. It is globally, and much of it comes from Beijing. So what do we do to fight back?
All it takes is we urge President Trump to tell Xi Jinping, tear down the digital firewall. it's really important for United States to engage with the citizens inside China. We don't have boots on the ground in China in terms of engagements. And what the Chinese citizens, billion plus of them, want the freedoms, want the opportunity to have faith, want the opportunity to have freedoms. There's no true freedom without freedom of informations. And the digital firewalls, the censorship is precisely trying to stop free flow of information, exchange of ideas, and so the gospel message has been suppressed. The opportunity to stand in solidarity with brothers sisters around the world has been suppressed. The persecution of Falun Gong have lasted for decades, and that need to be stopped. People are being killed on demand for the organs. That need to be stopped. So ending the digital
I want to stop you right there because some people say, well, that's not true. People on they don't believe that. Organ harvesting is real. And it happens every day. And the Uyghur minorities and others are targeted. The Feng Shui people are targeted every day, aren't they?
They are. And so I've been involved in this for 20 years. My husband and I were at the first press conference on April 26 when Hu Jintao and our presidents then met. That was the first press conference on McPherson Square, just blocks away from the White House. And my husband and I went to the World Transplant Congress in 2006 in Boston. I met transplant surgeons from China. They admitted that they were taking organs and they were bragging about the number of organ transplant they do. So for those who want to learn more about it, you can go to Doctors Against Forced Organ Harvesting, DAFOH.org, and you can also help ending the forced organ harvesting by urging your senators to support Senate Bill 817 that's initiated by Senator Ted Cruz. It was unanimously passed in the House, and urging your senators to pass in the Senate will be really helpful. And we believe President Trump will sign it into law once it's passed through the Senate. And when people are being killed on demand, you think, oh, that's just only happened in China. But actually, they're using the Chinese police outside US to execute those too. And when people are being killed on demand for profits, that means they may not give you the proper match of tissues. They don't care if you survive post-transplant. So it's extremely important for Americans to fully understand. And the State Department is ready to enact on that. In fact, Secretary Rubio, then Senator Rubio, initiated the Falun Gong Protection Act.
Yeah, we need to get this done. Really appreciate you being here, Janice, and you come back anytime. This is a big problem that people don't talk about, and if they don't, they won't be allowed to talk about that or a whole host of other things in the not-too-distant future. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciated. Look, censorship globally is a problem. Look at Canada. Look at the UK. China, you have no free speech, none. When I come back, I'll have free speech with Ivy. You can bet your bippy on that. All right, welcome back to it. You know, we've gone through this, Ivy and I, for over a year now. We had a fire in a rental house, a small rental house. Oh, my gosh, what a disastrous day. But we've had great luck with Doty Service Network. Same great people, new name, expanded services. They're offering plumbing, appliance repair, along with trusted HVAC services. They came in and put brand new heat and air in after the fire. Heating and cooling, leaking pipes, broken appliances. Doty is there in the greater Lansing area of Michigan. Trust me on this. We've had all sorts of services from Doty over many, many years. We trust them. Doty Service Network today is available. Doty Service Network can be found at dotymechanical.com or 517-327-7777. Experience the Doty difference. Ivy, I think you agree with me on that. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, for those of you who don't know, we had a house fire in one of our rental units.
What a mess.
And thankfully, no one was living there at the time. We were kind of flipping it, doing some improvements. But I could not imagine, like, what if we lived there full time? Like, people who actually have to go through that, you're displaced for a long time. I mean, you were talking about Palisades earlier, were you not? Or maybe I was listening to it on Fox News.
No, you heard it here. I mean, it's been a year now.
Right. And
since the big fires in California, those people don't have any place to live.
Right. Where did they go? What happened to them?
But mostly, that's not an insurance problem. That's not whether or not your HVAC company is available. That's terrible leadership because of regulations.
Right.
Show me the pictures of houses being rebuilt in Palisades in Malibu. You won't find any.
No, unfortunately not. But, you know, for our home, we were incredibly blessed. It didn't burn down to the ground, but everything needed to be removed down to the studs. And let me tell you, this HVAC company, because the home was built in what,
1914, maybe something like that.
Very, very old home.
Yeah.
And they did some incredible, like, clever things to make. First of all, it was a very small home, so we turned it into a 2-2. There wasn't a bathroom upstairs, and they did some incredible work to put a bathroom upstairs. So
the plumbing, remarkable.
Way to go for them. But you know, when you can reimagine a space, that's kind of neat. But you know, talking about government regulation, you know, did you see this story about Biden's pension?
I did.
You know, taxpayers could be paying a historically unusually high pension for Biden because he's been, has spent his life
in the House. Oh, excuse me. I guess he was elected a senator first, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in the House or not, but he got elected to the Senate when he was 29. The only reason that was allowed is because his birthday came before he would be sworn in. He was the youngest senator, I think, ever elected. So he started in the Senate at the age of 30. He spent forever there, then became vice president, then became president. So his pension is compounding. It's like
$417,000, which was more than what he was being paid as president.
Wow.
And will continue to be paid that. And so there's some folks, National Taxpayers Union Foundation, saying, hang on a second, this seems a little odd. We might need to look into this. No other people get paid this for their pensions for working for the United States government. And, you know, I do have a little bit of an issue with this. I don't think that the founders of this country wanted career politicians.
They didn't.
And so things like this, these giant pensions for people that used to serve our country, just seems extraordinarily high. And maybe we need to disincentivize a little bit this career politician. I mean, I think
perks, hold on, other perks, including lifetime health care, premium gold standard health care. Well, many Americans like you and I are like, oh my God, what's the bill?
Oh my gosh, well, our insurance went up for just you and I, because we have to do it. We could do it through a company or privately, but either way, we have to pay like 20% higher than we did last year.
And every year before that.
And we have to, so not only do we have to pay more, but we get less.
Of course. So,
you know, your deductibles, our deductibles are higher, even though we're paying a higher rate. Our, you know, when you go into emergency or something like that, you have to pay a certain amount of money. That went up. It's like ridiculous.
All your deductibles went up. Yeah. All your
payment for any
co-pays.
type of like prescription drugs cost went up as well. So it just doesn't seem fair. But I mean, I think that to some degree, yes. Do we want to pay our folks well who are serving our country? Yes.
Yes, but
maybe we need to take a little closer look at.
I'd like to see the military get paid more. I'd like to see people that are doing stuff like that get paid more. Politicians that have already, I mean, you look at the net worth of some of these politicians. Marjorie Taylor Greene left office yesterday. She was worth $700,000 when she came in 5 years ago. She's worth $25 million today. gee, I wish I could do that.
And that's true for many of the folks who
Right,
are
but
there.
that's just an easy example.
Right. I mean, Nancy Pelosi.
$135 million net worth.
And I do agree, too, that they should not be able to cast any sort of or purchase any sort of stocks
yeah.
while they're serving. You know, I don't know how you get around that, but
It's got to be some way. Blind trust. I mean, Donald Trump has a blind trust. He can't see what his investments do. He's not allowed to see it. It's controlled by somebody else. He has a manager that he cannot interfere with by law. Why isn't that true of everybody?
That's the president?
Yes.
Huh. That should be in place for all serving.
All politicians.
Yeah, I agree.
Even at the state level. I mean, don't think the people in Lansing don't have an opportunity to, hey, this legislation's coming on green energy or whatever. Oh, I want to invest in windmills or solar panels because we're going to mandate green energy policies. Well, then, boom. Right?
That's another thing that I think here in Michigan we suffer from is very high energy prices because of the green energy policies that were put into place. You know, carbon zero by whatever date.
2040.
That is never going to be possible to reach, and it costs it drives the cost up extraordinarily to the point where people just simply can't afford it. Another cool story, though, I have a sushi, easy for me to say, chain owner pays $3.2 million for bluefin tuna.
One fish.
A 536-pound tuna.
Bluefin.
For a popular sushi restaurant was just purchased.
You know, that comes out to over $6,000 a pound. I saw that. $6,000 a pound.
So what does your sushi roll cost or your sashimi, man?
Yeah, man, that's got to be good fish.
Crazy.
Yeah, $3.2 million. One fish. Now look.
536-pound tuna, though. I mean, I wonder how long it would take him to actually utilize that.
Have you guys ever eaten bluefin?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's delicious.
Got to leave it there.
Okay.
I want to try that sushi. I do.
Too. Let's go. I would love to go bluefin tuna.
So would I.
Fishing.
Best place, New Jersey.
There
Love
go.
you, Ivy.
Love you too.
All right, we'll be right back. right. Well, here's the, I'm going to give you the scorecard here. Marjorie Taylor Greene left Congress. She resigned. I think it was effective yesterday. All right. If she had waited a month, it would have saved the state of Georgia $1 million, I understand. She didn't. And I'm going to reiterate. I don't like the quitting part. I didn't like it when Mark Green did it from Tennessee last year to take some big lucrative job. I don't like it when Marjorie Taylor Greene does it. Oh, politics is ugly. No kidding. It's a contact sport. But here's what happened yesterday. Congressman Doug LaMalfa of California died. And leaves Mike Johnson with 218 seats. That is the bare minimum. So it's 218 to 217 currently. There's some unfilled seats. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat is empty. LaMalfa's seat is empty. We'll have special elections probably before we get to November. But right now, those seats are empty. LaMalfa died yesterday during an emergency surgery. Staunch ally of President Donald Trump, a reliable vote for Johnson's priorities. It means Johnson can only lose 2 Republicans on any bill at this point. Yep. A lot of times they'll say, I wish Mike were tougher. Trump told Republicans recently, he's tough. He's tough as anybody in the room. But can't be as tough as he needs to be when we have a majority of 3, and now, sadly, a little bit less than that. Yeah, so tight, very tight in Congress right now. That's why the midterm elections are so important. If you were a Trump voter and don't vote in the midterms, that's not a good answer. You can't be an only Trump voter. You have to vote in the midterms. You have to weigh in on ballot initiatives, on the candidates on the ballot, and on the future of this country. Anything less is unacceptable. Unacceptable. You have to vote. I'm not telling you how to vote, just that you have to vote. You choose the best candidate for you, and I'll choose the best candidate for me. We'll see where the chips fall, but you got to vote. That's my last word to you today. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America. And part of that is voting. Only you can save America. We'll talk tomorrow.